have the solution. And if anybody wants to see the solution, you can always ask for it. Okay?
Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, this is the way I intend conducting the examination. Here, I have to reiterate that we have no way of proctoring you. We have no way whether you are consulting, referring to any material. I just leave it to you and leave it to your integrity and honesty. That's it. I have no way of doing it. Is it okay? Don't mistake me for repeatedly saying this, but it is as a part of a rule, I have to say this. Okay? Let it be your own contribution. Even if you make a mistake, let it be yours. May it be a great answer, let it be yours. Okay?
Okay. Okay, sir.
Okay.
Sir, do I need to mail it to you or Tanu, ma'am?
No, no, no. No. You mail it to me. Okay? Hello?
Okay, sir.
Yeah, I'll send the instructions again. Don't worry. The instructions are there on the first page of the question paper also. Okay.
Sir, just to confirm that then you will not be monitoring us through this meeting thing during the entire duration of the exam.
That is exactly what I am telling you. There is no way I can monitor you. I just leave it to you and your honesty. That's it.
All right, sir.
So you are going to test your own honesty. That's it. I leave it at that. I believe in you. Do not copy. Do not consult anyone. No WhatsApp messaging. No nothing. Understood? I have kept the passing minimum to a very, very low 35% only. So this should not be a thing at all. And the second thing, you understand, question papers will test your conceptual understanding, basic conceptual understanding. Okay, so there could be some algebra involved in it. So that's exactly it. So that will be it. And I'll be sending the instructions also once again. And the question papers also will have instructions as part of it. And this is the second thing that good you asked me. Second thing that I have to tell the entire class is the following. This will be our 7th class or 8th class?
So this is the 7th class.
This is the 7th class, right? I have a problem here. See, we have your semester ends on March 9th. Do you have the calendar with you?
So the calendar says that the classes will end by February 5th.
February 5th, sir, not March.
February?
So 5th February.
5th Feb?
Yes, sir.
Not March? No, then see the latest calendar. Feb was the original, usual, the old one. There was a new calendar that Rajendra had sent, the dean had sent.
We haven't received it yet, maybe.
Can you please hold on a minute? Can you please hold on a minute? I will check.
Sure, sir.
Everything is so slow here. God, this is Feb 5 classes end. Feb 5 classes end. Yeah, that's right. I've been thinking that was in March. It goes up to March. Okay. Hello?
Yes, sir.
I am finished now. I am finished. Rather, I don't know. This is my 7th class, and I don't intend giving. Okay, not more than not any more than 9 to 10 lectures to 9 lectures statistics portion, because that itself take to 16 lectures. So what should I do? Because I'm not even into normal distribution. There are a lot of proofs, lot of derivations and all those things. Should I just skip over all those derivations and give you only the results? What do you think?
So I think we can do that.
Because if you discuss each and everything, it's not going to be done. I may need the entire semester to finish the statistics portion that I have in my mind. Because remember, this is more of econometrics. I need at least 10 to 12 lectures for econometrics. Everything is ready, of course, there. So what do you think I should do? We should discuss everything in the class. I'll just give only the result and leave out the derivations, the proof of it, everything.
So you could teach us the results and we could read it about the proofs if there's any reference book for it, if we get the time. Like.
The reference book, no, the problem is then if I tell you refer to the book and suppose I ask questions relating to the proof, then you may complain because this was not discussed in the class. So this is my problem. Okay, I think I'll adjust because 9 more lectures only I can devote. February 5, matlab January I'll have about 12 lectures. Entire January I need for econometrics, or at least 3 weeks of. Okay, I'll have to cut some proofs and all those stuff and tell you only the results. Okay, because.
So may I suggest something, sir?
Who is this?
So Paul Babu, sir.
Who is this Paul? Paul who?
Yes, sir. Paul Babu.
Paul Babu. Babuji,
Yes,
boliye.
Yes, sir. So what I was thinking that would it be feasible for you to record the working of your proofs and send it to us separately, not a class?
Why record? I have the proof, everything in PPT. I can send the PPT itself.
So just because so that you can discuss it later on. Okay, yes. So if you send the PPTs to us, we can put forward our doubts and stuff later on, right, sir? Would that be feasible?
You can always mail me the doubts.
So wouldn't that be feasible, sir? Just like Yamini said, we focus on the results, and beforehand we just do the PPTs, and we come back to you, get back to you, whatever doubts we have.
No problem. That's all right. But my only question is, suppose I plan to ask you some questions which will involve a small trick or small result from the proof, then you may complain because this was not discussed in the class. Remember?
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
If it is discussed in the class, the entire people are supposed to come to the class and attend it. And if a few people ask me doubts and I clarify it, and my questions happen to be there from the doubts that I clarified, that will be partiality, right? People will complain, and rightly so.
Okay, sir.
Do you get my point?
Yes. Sir.
So okay, so let me think about it. I have no way of going beyond January 1st week. I have been under the impression that the semester ended on March 9th, not March 9th. March 9th, the other semester begins. God. Okay, I have to do something about it. I'll see where I have to cut the proof and only tell you the result. And I'll send you the proof for personal thing, and I'll see what I can do. Okay, shall we begin?
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Oh, yeah. And I'll begin by sharing. Oh, already share. You can see that?
Yes, bivariate distributions.
Okay, bivariate distributions of the discrete type. And this is where we started the discussions yesterday. And I'm yet to send you the PPTs of yesterday's thing. I'll send along with this today, whatever we discussed today. Okay. This is bivariate distributions. We have been seeing only this univariate. So bivariate distributions, a discrete type. This is what we saw. The function is called the joint probability mass function. This is discrete. So probability mass function. These are the properties. These properties may be, to look at it, it's very frightful, but from the wording you have to remember, this has to be between 0 and 1, the sum of the probabilities must be equal to 1. And for whatever subset is there, you just sum over all the elements of xy belonging to the subset A to get the probabilities. Okay, we are going to do a lot of some examples here from where you will understand everything. You are going to answer the questions. This is what we saw yesterday. And marginal PMF. Marginal PMF is defined this way. For any given x for all over the space of y, all values of y. The summation takes for all possible values of y for each given x in the space S6. So this summation is over all xy in S with a given x value. And this is a marginal probability mass function of y is defined this way, or dependent. And if xy can be written as fx of x and fy of y. Do you see the slightly inconsistency in what I have done? Okay, this is the practice. Putting the x in the subscript fx of x, fy of y. I thought it is too much of typing for me, but normally the practice is here fxy in the subscript, capital XY in the subscript, and xy small within the bracket. That is the normal way of writing it. But sometimes I write it, sometimes I don't write it. Sorry, so that is a bit inconsistent. I'll correct everything and send you. That's the right way of showing it. You should have the subscript xy, fxy, capital XY, xy. Okay, said to be independent. So if I can write it as a product of individual PMF, then it is, then it is said to be independent. Otherwise, it has to be dependent. This is the example that we saw. Join PMF. It's more convenient to write it x1 and x2 rather than x and y. Okay, this is again what we saw in the discrete variable. A function of x1, x2 also the same way, so that the bottom line tells you that u1, x1, x2 is equal to y, gy, where gy is the PMF of y. This was a mistake that we had done yesterday. Remember? Is it okay now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
3, 3, 2, 1. Okay, the answer remains the same. The following mathematical expectations can be defined. The mean of xi, the variance of xi, the correlation coefficients besides mean and variance. We should now introduce two other names, covariance and correlation coefficient. And this is a correlation for coefficient formula. This decomposition you have to remember. Covariance xy is nothing but exy minus exey, exy minus mu x mu y. And similarly, expectation exy can be rewritten this way. And this was the example that we saw yesterday. I think we stopped here, right? Let's now suppose we start here. Just a minute. Let us now suppose that x and y are independent. So that fxy equal to f of fx again. Suppose also that we want to find the expected value of a product of x alone, function of x alone and a function of y alone. Subject to the existence of expectations, this is how I can find. What is it now? Expected value of ux, by can be separated and written as expectation of a function of x alone and expectation of a function of y alone. Okay. Remember, many people have doubt about all these things. So these are the basics. I'm going to use this formula to show that correlation coefficient between two independent random variables will be
Zero.
Okay, now it will be 0. I'm going to use this formula to show this. This formula can be used to show that the correlation coefficient of two independent random variables is 0. In standard notation, this is what it boils down to. So I can write it this way. Remember the covariance decomposition EXY minus EX EY. The converse of this equation is not necessarily 0. 0 correlation does not imply independence. You know what the implication behind this?
So correlation only depicts the linear association and not any other association. So I think that is why if we take a function like y equal to mod x, it won't satisfy in that case. In that case
Precisely.
also y equal to mod x, in that case there is zero correlation, but there is a dependence between y and x as a functional dependence like y equal to mod x.
Precisely. Correlation is only linear. Okay, so this is independence. Independence implies 0 correlation, but not the other way around. 0 correlation does not imply independence. There's the whole thing only. Y and x can be uncorrelated, but y and x square need not be. You get the point? You said mod x. I'm using any nonlinear function of x. Okay,
Yes.
so this particular idea is used to killer effect to prove a very important concept in financial economics, which is called the random walk theory. Random walk theory, random walk model of how do you explain stock prices. There are 3 random walk explanations. This is what is used as killer effect. Okay, so random walk is nothing but when PT is a stock price, PT is equal to PT minus 1 plus ET. Initial guys assumed ETs are IIDs, that independent and identically distributed. So they relax this condition of independence. So when they relax the condition of independence, you only say uncorrelated. You don't say independent. What does that mean? Take the ETs. ET expected value of ETES could be 0. That is covariance is 0, then correlation is 0. But ET squares will be heavily correlated. And as remember, ET is now it's a linear, non-linear transformation of ET. And you allow for it, you can still prove the markets follow a random walk, and markets are efficient. Stock markets are efficient. Okay, so this is the first thing that you learn in financial econometrics: how to test random walk model of stock prices under the condition of IID and relaxed condition of not independent, but identically distributed, not independent, and not identically distributed. So this is how financial econometrics goes, and this is the starting point. Okay, so another thing is correlation is not causation. That's also one thing that you have to remember. So independence implies 0 correlation, but 0 correlation does not necessarily imply, what is the whole meaning has changed. 0 correlation does not necessarily imply independence. We shall explain the later with an example. Okay. X and Y have the joint PMF, XY for 3. And take this very simple example and show that X and Y are dependent using the earlier analysis. Even though X and Y are dependent, I'm not showing it here, so you can take it as an exercise. X and Y are dependent using the earlier analysis. So the means of X and Y, from there also you can show that mu X equal to and mu Y equal to 2 by the covariance is 0, and hence correlation is 0. But X and Y are dependent. Okay, all of you should know the value the correlation coefficients, any correlation coefficient should take. Correlation coefficient should lie between -1 and 1. correct? Okay, why should that be the case? Why should that be the case? So in order to determine the range of possible values of correlation, we are going to use a result you must have definitely heard of. What is that? The Cauchy-Schwarz inequality. What is that? Let x and y be random variables with finite variance. Then covariance xy squared. This is actually Schwarz inequality. Okay, and the starts with expectation. Yeah, okay, this starts with Schwarz inequality. But what I'm interested in the Cauchy-Schwarz inequality, which is the next one. -1 less than or equal to rho xy less than or equal to 1. Let's call it Schwarz inequality 1. Take the far right inequality, that is less than or equal to 1, and consider the following random variable. What have I actually done here? Those who have done basic statistics?
Just standardize the.
I have just standardized each variable. Remember, don't commit the mistake. It's not standard normal yet because I only said x and y random variable. I just standardized them. And I'm defining a new random variable z equal to standardized x value minus standardized y value. Okay, the square of this variable cannot take negative values. Okay. So what does that mean? Z square. So what does that mean? The right hand side cannot take negative values. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to use that. I'm going to use that point. So expected value of the whole square has to be greater than or equal to 0. Since var x and var y are population moments as opposed to random variables, population moments, remember always population moments are unknown constants. Population moments are unknown constants. So expectation of square root var x square is not var x is equal to square root of squaring that will give you the variance of x. That's why I said right in the beginning variance exists and it is finite. X minus mu x whole square minus 2 plus y minus mu y whole square by var y greater than or equal to 0. So the middle term is nothing but the correlation coefficient, 1 minus 2 cor x plus 1 greater than or equal to 0, implying correlation xy has to be less than or equal to 1.
Sir, I have a doubt.
Yeah.
What does it mean that variance of x and variance of y are population moments?
That's exactly what I said. Population moments. See, any population, when you consider I said this population has a finite variance, right? Sigma square x and sigma square y. When I say population moments are there. They are nothing but unknown constant. Unknown.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So expected value of x square according to this is nothing but sigma square x. So that population moment. That's why I said as opposed to random variables. Okay, so it becomes var x. So ex minus mu x whole square minus 2. Rest of it is it okay?
Yes, sir. So it basically means that we can write expectation as just variance x, like
yeah, that's it. Because it's a population moment.
Sir, can you show the previous slide?
Sorry?
Previous slide, sir. How the first statement came, sir? Covariance. First statement, can you please?
That is Schwarz inequality, which I'm not proving. I need the second inequality. Okay. Hello.
Yes, sir. So we need to accept.
You need the proof of that also.
No, sir. Just I was wishing means
No, no, no problem.
from where it
I have the proof. I have the proof. I told you, no, I told you I have to, wherever I have to prune, I will prune. What is needed is this, determine the range of possible values of the correlation. I need the following result. I have to prove that correlation has to lie between -1 and 1. Okay, so these two are this, and so I have to start from here. The above thing also can be easily proved. In fact, I have it right in front of me. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Can you use similar arguments to prove this part of the equality? We only shown the right, extreme right. The far left inequality also you can prove using similar arguments so that the inequality is established in full. Okay. All these basic tricks will be very useful. Some useful results. Go through it, please. I have to add these results because you never know where people will get. You won't believe, sir, var x plus y is this, what will be var x minus y? I have added that also, by the way. So var x plus y is equal to this. So variance of x plus variance of y, the 2 into covariance of xy. Normal mistakes made by students. Never forget the covariance term, and that is 2 covariance, not covariance. Similarly, for all constants a and b, it can be shown that covariance ax by is nothing but ab covariance xy. The following then easily follows from this observation. Let a, b, and c constants. Then var x is finite, var y is finite. Then look at this. For ax, comma by plus c. This is very important in time series analysis. All these kinds of expression, how to kind variance and covariances, or the base of time series analysis. I always tell my time series analysis students, after doing TSA 1, if you can take variance and covariance of any expression, 50% of my job would be done. But most of the time it is undone, because taking variance and covariance of various expressions, knowing which one is a constant, which one is not, that comes by experience only. So this is it now. Var ax, comma by plus c is nothing but a square var x plus b square var y plus only 2 ab covariance xy. Other covariances won't remain. So very useful special case is var x minus y is the following. Oh God. Okay. This I'm just going to extend it. You go through it. There is nothing for me to explain here. And if you find it too taxing, just forget it. So x1 random variables. These are all some other things. 2 covariances. How do you prove that? Actually, the following is a proof. For every random variable y, covariance yy is nothing but var y. Therefore, we obtain the following relation. Okay. Separate the final sum in this relation into two sums. The sum of those terms for which I is equal to j, which will give you the variance, and the sum of the terms that give I not equal to j. Then we use the fact that covariance xi xj is equal to covariance xj. What does that mean?
That the order does not matter in case of.
It is symmetric. Covariance metric is symmetric. Is it okay? Because just a product only. So we obtain the relation var xi equal to this, and this is what we wanted to prove. Okay, a simple corollary to the above results is as follows. If x1, xn are uncorrelated random variables, that xi and xi are uncorrelated whenever I is not equal to j, because the variance have to exist. So var xi is nothing but summation of all the variances. Okay, now we'll go. We have been discussing only discrete variables. So bivariate discrete variables, their PMF, joint PMF, and modular PMF, because it was a discrete variable. Another concept of under two concepts of covariance and correlations were introduced. Now it is time to go to the conditional distribution. we generalize the concept of conditional probability to conditional distributions. So recall that distributions are just collections of probabilities of events determined by random variables. So conditional distributions will always be probabilities of events determined by some random variables, conditional on events determined by other random variables. That x and y have a joint discrete distribution with PM of fxy on space S. The marginal PMF is fxx and fyy with spaces sx and sy respectively. Event A equal to x and B equal to y comma y in the xy space. So A intersection B equal to x and y is equal to y, because so the conditional probability of event A given event B is this, this is something we have seen before. This is the conditional probability. Okay, so this formula leads to the following definition. This is what is important. What is it? Conditional probability mass function of x given y equal to y is defined by conditional probability mass function of x given y is equal to y, provided f of y is greater than 0. Similarly, the conditional probability mass function of x, please take it down because we are going to see some examples immediately. Okay, take this example. If xy is equal to x plus y by 21, so fx of x equal to all over y, then 2x plus 3, 21, if y. What will be the conditional PMF of x given that y, that capital Y equal to small y is equal to can anyone find using this formula? Conditional PMF of x given that y equal to y, capital Y is equal to small y is defined by this. So you have all the results and tell me what is gxy?
X plus y 3 2 plus y.
Come again?
Sir, x plus y divided by 3 into 2 plus y.
3 to 2 plus y. Ah, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. X plus y by 3y by 6. So for example, probability of x equal to 2, given that y equal to 2 is the way g 2 by 2, that's equal to 4 by 12 to 1 by 3. Finding probabilities, it's Similarly, the conditional PMF of y, given that x is equal to x, is equal to this formula, x plus y by 2x plus 3, when x is equal to 1, 2, 3. Note that hyx. Okay, now I'm going to give you a small exercise wherever you go. This gxy is also a conditional PMF. Okay, gxy also is conditional PMF. Take it as an exercise. Show that gxy also sum up to 1. hyx also should sum up to 1, because these are all after all PMF, and they have to satisfy the condition of being a PMF. Okay, look at this. Note that if you sum xy over y for that x, we obtain that summation of, this is nothing but the PMF. This after all sums up to 1, and thus hyx also satisfies the conditions of a probability mass function. And we can compute the conditional probabilities such as this. So you have to be ready with such results. So I have shown that this is after all, this satisfies the conditions of a PMF, and similarly this also should satisfy. So this also should satisfy, gxy also should satisfy the conditions of a PMF. So we can compute the conditional probabilities of this, that y between 2, x is equal to x. So summation over this. All these things could be very difficult to remember, but only through an example. These things can be understood better through an example. Now go through this. This is an example. Another example that you will answer. There are some questions I'm going to ask you, and you have to answer. Go through it. Even take it down. Take this down. Okay, can you answer the first question? Determine the probability that the randomly selected household owns at least 2 of both cars and televisions.
So 0.5.
0.5.
Correct. So what is it? Okay, I given it in symbol also. Che, I should have asked you to find the symbol also. Find px greater than or equal to 2. Find py greater than or equal to 2. Okay, what is the next question? Determine the probability that the randomly selected household owns exactly one car.
.2.
Okay, how did you find out?
So the probability of x, the first row.
Probability is the first row of the table. We obtained is p of x is equal to 1 summation y equal to 1 to 4 f1y equal to 0.2. Is it correct? Okay, the third question. What's happening?
Sir, is this 0.22? So the same 0.2 like the previous one.
What is the model PM of F1 of it? How do we calculate it?
Sir, we just add over the rows, like the row.
It can be, you just concentrate on the row totals of the table. Here are the row totals of the table. How did we obtain the numbers? What is the formula for PMF, marginal PMF of x? Fx equal to summation y over fxy, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, put x is equal to 1, y equal to 1, and put x is equal to again 1, y equal to 2. So why don't you just sum it up like that? F11 plus F12 plus F13 plus F14. Okay, so that is nothing but
0.2.
So 0.2 when x is equal to 1, 0.6 when x is equal to 2, and 0.2 when x is equal to 3.
yes, the row totals will give you the answer. So again, plus F21, F22, F23, F24, F31 plus F32 plus F33 plus F34. So what does this marginal PMF give? The marginal PMF gives the what does this marginal PMF give? Just tell me in words.
So the probability of a household holding 1, 2, or 3 cars given whatever number of TV sets they own.
Okay, so the marginal PMFs give the probability that the randomly selected household owns 1, 2, or 3 cars. So 5 and 6 are exactly the same.
Sir.
Who is this?
Sir, I wanted to ask you one thing, sir. It is saying what is the marginal PMF F1? So 1 is like x is taking the value of 1. So for that F subscript 1, so then it should be only 0.2.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay, so what's the marginal PM of F2 of Y? The same way like PM of F1 or X, the column total should give you. And the last question is, it gives the probability that household owns 1, 2, or 3, or 4 televisions for whatever number of cars they have. This is the answer. Okay, by summing fxy for our all possible values of x greater than or equal to 2 and y greater than or equal to 2, we obtain the value f22, f23, f24 plus f32 plus f33, f34 is equal to 0.5. Somebody said correctly. Okay, what's the second question? By summing the probabilities in the first row of the table, we obtain 0.2. It can be read from the row totals of the table. The numbers were obtained by summing the values in each row of this table from the 4 columns in the central part of the table, those labeled 1, 2, 3, 4. So in this way, it is found that f11 equal to 0.2, f12 is equal to 0.6, f13 equal to 0.2, and f1x equal to 0.0 for all other values of x. Because 4 also it is 0 only. So the fourth question, the marginal PMFs give the probability that a randomly selected household owns 1, 2, or 3 cars. Again, somebody said it correctly. The fifth one, like the same one as it can be read from the column totals. The sixth one, it gives the probabilities that a household owns 1, 2, 3, or 4 televisions, whatever number of cars. Okay. This is a very funny answer. Where do you get the term marginal distribution? The marginal distribution derives from the fact that the marginal distributions are the totals that appear in the margins of the tables, like in the table above. I didn't know for quite some time. But this is actually a funny result, funny fact. That's why it's called the marginal distribution. Conditional distributions example. Cars and televisions example again. So let us revisit the joint PMF of the cars and television example. Okay, we shall determine the conditional PMF of y given that x equal to 2. Given that x equal to 2. So how do you calculate this conditional probability? Remember, gxy equal to fxy by fyy, provided that fyy is greater than 0. So we are interested in calculating the conditional PMF of y given that x equal to 2. The conditional probability of g2y given that x is equal to 2 is that y will take a particular value, y is f2y by 0.6. Where does the marginal PMF of x appears in the total column of f12 equal to px equal to 2 equal to 0.6. Therefore, the conditional probability that g2y given x equal to 2 is that y will take a particular value, y is gy2 equal to f2y by 0.6. It should be noted that for all possible values of y, the conditional probabilities of g2 must be proportional to the joint probabilities of f2y. In this example, then each value of f2y is simply divided by the constant in order that the sum of the results will be equal to 1. So thus g212, so g212 equal to half, g222 equal to 0, g32 equal to 1 by 6, g42 equal to 1 by 3. It's only substitution from the table and using the formula. Okay, another example about auto insurance. Insurance companies keep track of how likely various cars are to be stolen. So a company in a particular area computes the joint distribution of car brands, and the indicator whether the car will be stolen during a particular year is tabulated below. The joint PMF. Table of joint PMF for auto insurance. Brand Y. Take this down, please.
Sir, what is X, 0 and 1?
Stolen. X is equal to 1 mean, have you taken those in table?
Yes, sir.
Okay, X equal to 1 mean that the car is stolen, and X is equal to 0 mean the car is not stolen. So we let Y take the value of values 1 to 5 to indicate the brand of car as indicated in the table. So look at this number. What is the overall probability that any car will be stolen?
0.024.
Yeah, that's quite low, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
That's quite low. Okay. Now, see, if you know, if you just see the brand wise, the picture may change a bit. The brand of the car, if you know the brand of the car, how do you know that? Then let's do this. If the customer applies for insurance for a particular brand of car, the company needs to compute. Oh no, I forgot to record this here. Is it okay? Sorry. Most of it is gone now. The insurance company might adjust their premium according to a risk factor such as likelihood of being stolen. So the overall probability that a car will be stolen is as low as 0.024. But if you know separate brand of the car, the probability might change quite a bit. Now, I hope you have taken this down. I'm going to give you an exercise. What will we write the conditional distribution of X being stolen given Y? Write it in the table form. Actually, write the table of conditional PMF for auto insurance. Write a table of conditional PMF for auto insurance. Okay, one question. Conditional PMF. What will be G1XY because given Y? Tell me the formula. What will be G1XY? Is anybody there?
Yes, sir.
What is G1 XY?
So G1 x given y is f of xy by like f of y, the marginal PDF
Okay, F on
PMF
Y.
of y.
Okay, so
Yes.
now how do you calculate the PMF now? That is a formula. How do you get the PMF? You have to accumulate, isn't it? You have to sum it rather.
Yes.
So
Yes,
1
sir.
by F on Y summation over X, F of XY. Given that it is brand 1, what is the probability that it will be not stolen? And what is the probability that it will be stolen?
Sir, 0.129 by 0.139
For
will be
probability that it will not be
not be,
stolen.
and 0.1 by 0.139 that it will be
Yeah,
stolen.
this is for which brand? Brand Y equal
One.
to 1.
One.
Okay, that is it. That's it. So you can similarly calculate the entire stuff. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay,
sir.
now okay. Suppose I tell you this. This is the thing. Table of conditional PMF. Okay, so brand Y, from looking at it, which is that brand which is likely to be stolen, most likely to be stolen?
Brand 1.
Brand 1, you see, because this is quite high from this number 024 to 072. So the moment we start discussing the probability of cars getting stolen according to brand, number 1 brand has more probability of getting stolen. And this is exactly it. So remember the formula and how to calculate these numbers. And this is quite, what should I say, quite easy, very easy. Okay. So also remember how to interpret these numbers. What are these numbers? In the conditional PMF, joint PMF. These are the kind of basic things that you should never forget. Okay. You go to any interview, this is what they are going to catch you. What is this 0.032? Just explain in words. That's it. So you know the formula and all this stuff, but you should be able to explain in words what does, for example, 0.032 mean. Okay, this is exactly what we look for in interview, the basics, very first lessons. Okay, now this is the example, and practice such questions. I'll send you also some review questions. So practice it. It appears that brand 1 is much more likely to be stolen than other cars in this area. Okay, these are some stuff which you can go through. We can also calculate conditional expectations such as expected value of a function of y given x is equal to x. This is how it's calculated in a manner similar to those associated with unconditional probabilities and expectations. Two special conditional expectations are the conditional mean of y given that x is equal to x. Quickly tell me this particular statement. Conditional expectations are the conditional mean of y given that x equal to x is defined by this. This has a connection to your econometrics. What is that?
So regression.
The Gauss-Markov theorem, or what you call as the classical linear regression, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, in matrix form, this is nothing but y is equal to x beta plus e. E is supposed to be IID with mean 0 and variance sigma square I. And the one important condition is x equal to x. It is given. It doesn't change at all between experiments. It doesn't change. It remains fixed. So you are always asked what will be expected value of y given that x is equal to x is simply x beta. Right? That is the answer. That's what will come there again. So this is exactly what the conditional regression is, nothing but conditional expectation. I mean to say the classical linear regression given the Gauss-Markov assumption is nothing but conditional expectations of y. Okay. Now the conditional variance of y given that x is equal to x defined by this can be computed this way. Okay, this is the same thing as the variance decomposition sigma square is equal to ey square minus ey whole square. So we just add the conditional part of it. Conditional mean mu xy and the conditional variance are given by similar expressions. It's a function of y alone. Similarly, the conditional mean of y given that x equal to x is a function of x alone. Why did I write all this stuff? Suppose that the conditional mean of y is a linear function. Find the constant. This development will shed more light on the correlation coefficient. It is given that, okay, you can go through this. This is all boring stuff. In addition, if we multiply both sides of one solution, this is the least square. Okay, that is what I'm arriving at. So the conditional mean of y given that it's a linear is exactly the same as the best fitting line to the least squares regression. Okay, now we'll go here. This is important. Go through it. We are only discrete variable, bivariate discrete variable, PMF, joint PMF, marginal PMF, conditional PMF, conditions for the independence of the PMF. Fxy can be written as fx, fy, then and only then they are independent, otherwise they are dependent. We saw various examples. Now it is time to come out of the discrete stuff to the continuous stuff. Go through it. I'll just come in a minute. This is exactly what we saw for the univariate univariate density function. Only thing is now the double integrals will come now. The double integrals always pose problems. You have a class at 11:30 now? Actually, at 11:30 you have a lecture?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Oh, I just now saw Shubro. Okay. I thought I could drag on. Okay, now, oh, no. Okay, this is what is something, don't be bamboozled by all this stuff. This is the same stuff that probability has to be positive and they have to sum up to 1. And it's the same thing that we saw for the univariate stuff. So the mathematical expectations are the same as the discrete case with integrals replacing summations. The definitions associated with mathematical expectations in the continuous case are the same as those associated with discrete case replacing summation with integration. For example, if x and y are continuous random variables with joint PDF now, not PMF, PXY, it is customary to write the joint PDF as fxy, xy. This is exactly what I was saying. Now see the subscript appearing fxy, xy. So when I feel like I'll write this also, both are the same. So expected value of x is nothing but this is a formula you should never forget. Okay, x fx dx. Look at what I have written below. Okay, it is customary to write this. So what is expected value of x is nothing but x fx dx. The PDF and integrate it. Look at the second line. Look at the second line. This looks deadly. but don't worry. What is that? The hint here is that the means and variances can be calculated using the marginal PDFs rather than the joint PDF. That's the whole idea. We are shortly going to see an example. You take this down, but
Sir, how does the second line came from the first line?
no, it it did not. Oh, okay. Actually, it should be the other way around. This is the hint here is that means that the variances can be this is nothing but fx dx is nothing but the marginal. Sorry. The means and variance can be used the marginal PDF. I'll give you the formula for a marginal PDF, then it will get seen. Just take this down. The following, if they exist, special mean. Now you get it. Now you get it.
Yes, sir.
This slide should have come first. The respective marginal PDFs of continuous type random variables are given by this. These are some of the formulas, some of the expressions that you should never ever forget. Sx and Sy are the respective spaces of x and y. What we say is nothing but we are integrating the effect of y out. The second one, we are integrating the effect of x, integrating out the effect of y. You know, this particular stuff is used with the killer effect when we are discussing in econometrics weakly exogenous models and strongly exogenous models, super exogenous models. These are the stuff that is being used. Okay, so whatever the things, so the effect of y is being integrated out to get what we call as the partial model. Okay, so similarly, you integrate out the effect of x to get the partial model, so that we can now concentrate on only on x. The effect of y has been integrated out. So this is used to killer effect in time series analysis again, and in all explanation of weak exogeneity and all those stuff. This is the basics. So do not forget this formula, marginal PDF, and this particular formula. We'll come back to this formula with an example. How do you find the expected value, the mean and the variance using only the marginal PDF rather than the joint PDF? Okay, look at this. X and Y have the joint PDF. Now, I hope you have taken this down, taken down this formula. Now I am asking you, find the mean of x using this formula. Using this formula, find the mean of x and the mean of y.
Sir, mean of x is 4 by 9.
Yes.
Yes, sir. 4 by 9.
As well as y.
Y, both of them.
And a mean of y also is 4 by 9, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Variance of x. Variance of x involves a double integral. Careful. Use the decomposition ex square minus ex whole square because you already found the mean. So one part is done.
Sir, variance of x is 273 upon 1458. Sir,
So 2
maybe.
by 81.
273 upon, I'm getting a different answer.
2 by
I
81.
got 13 by 162. Yes,
That
sir.
is a
Even
13
me,
by
13 by
160.
162. Yes.
That is the right answer. 13 by 162. I don't know whether you can simplify it. Mean of x is equal to 4 by 9. Set the variance.
So 13 by 162 only.
Yeah, I've given you this. Similarly, the variance of y also is 13 by 162. So from these calculations, one need to show that the means and variances could be calculated using the marginal PDF instead of the joint PDF. Try this problem. Check this out. For this problem, find the mean and the mean of x and y.
It's a 9 by 40.
9 by 40 are given already. That is a probability of x. So I'm asking you to find the mean of x and y.
Oh.
The mean of x is 3 by 16.
Mean of x is not 16. You have to evaluate 3 by 8 x power 4 minus 1 to 1.
Sir, 9 by 320.
What? Mean?
Yes, it's 3 by 20. It's 3 by 20, I guess.
So I got 3 by 4.
How did you find the mean? E power x integral minus 1 to 1 x into 3 by 2 x square dx.
So is the mean 0?
Mean should be 0. Who is that? That's correct.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Mean is 0. It's coming.
Okay. Similarly, find expected value of y, that is mean of y. So break the integral from minus 1 to 0 and 0 to 1 for the absolute value.
So 1 by 6?
No. Go. Look at this.
Sir, 1 by 3.
Only. So 0 I was getting.
0.
Break the integral into negative part and the positive part because of mod y. Remember, mod y equal to y, mod y is equal to y. If y is positive, it's minus y if y is negative.
Sir, can we use it using odd function rule that this is odd function, hence it will be 0?
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So that I was thinking that exactly.
Yeah, fine. I don't know. That's fine. Try this sum. The definition of independent random variables of the continuous set carries over naturally from the discrete case, that is x and y are independent if and only if the joint PDF factors into the product of the marginal PDF. This is another important result. Fx, hey, look at that. I should have xy in the subscript. Sometimes I write, sometimes I don't write. Fxy, xy is equal to fx of x into fy. So they are the joint PDF. Okay, so this is it now. Fxy will be x and y are independent if and only if the joint PDF can be factored into the product of their marginal PDFs. Fxx and fyy. Okay, like this. Find C. What will be the constant C? Oh no, I have given you the answer. Look at this. This is straightforward. Find the constant C. You have to do only one thing now.
30 by
Very
7.
easy. Very easy now. I've given you the answer. Isn't it?
Yes, sir.
C will be simply 30 by 7 because it should integrate 1. Am I right? Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay. Okay. Homework for this problem. For this problem, find. Now that C has been found, has 30 by 7. For this problem, find the marginal PDFs of x and y.
Sir, marginal for x is it 15 by 7 into x squared?
Correct. Only one. I mean, another one is there. You have to find it between, because see the limit. See the limit is between x. Okay. That's for x 0 and 1, right?
Yes.
So the limit is between minus y less than or equal to x less than or equal to 1. That is the space of x, support of x.
So can you show it using the graphical method how to find the...
No, I want you to do the integration. Okay, this is one homework. And can you go to the first problem? This problem only, I don't know. Do you have this problem 4 by 3 1 minus xy? Have you taken it down?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. For this problem, find the probability that y will be less than or equal to x by 2. The probability that y is less than x by 2. The answer should be 7 by 24.
Sir, can you tell us the answer of what fy would be for the last question?
10 by 7 into y plus y power 4.
Yeah. Okay.
Correct?
Yes.
Y between 0 and 1. The 0 less than or equal to y less than or equal to 1. That is a support.
Okay.
Okay. And for the last problem also, again, for the last problem, not this problem, for the last problem. For this problem, find the following probabilities. P x, probability of x less than or equal to 0, and probability 0 less than or equal to y less than or equal to x less than or equal to 1. The probability of x less than or equal to 0 is 2 by 7, when the second answer is 3 by 7. Okay, we'll continue in the next class.
Sir, will you send us these slides?
Yeah. Yesterday's PPT as well as this PPTs I have to send you. Okay, I'll send it. I'll meet on Monday, usual time. And I have to find a way to finish off what all I want to say about statistics and about next. This already 7 classes over with the special lecture. I can devote at best 10 more lectures. That's it. And I have to do a lot. So I want to spend a lot of time only on the hypothesis testing and the confidence intervals testing, the statistical inference part, rather than spend time on proving everything that Kramer or Lloyd won't. That I will spend, of course. Proving central limit theorem, that will take at least 2 lectures because I have to give you a lot of inequalities, previous results, and all those stuff. You tell me what I should do as a class. I'll put it in a PPT I can send you. You can read it for yourselves, but I can't ask any questions if it is not discussed in the class. Okay, now just take a few minutes and tell me, how is it going so far? Am I going too fast, too slow? I can speed up. And the PPT was working because I made PPTs because my handwriting is, unimaginably bad. So that's why I made PPTs, and actually all the blah blah that I would otherwise say in the class, I just typed it in so that you'll be saved. How do you like this? Can you just go so that you can go for a midterm correction if necessary? Hello? No one is there?
Yes, sir. I guess this is fine.
Okay, others, Shreshti, Anas Khan, I've never heard him. Who is that? Can you show your face? Drishan, is it okay?
Yes, sir, it's all right. Like most of us, we have learned a lot of this
Yes,
in
sir.
undergrad.
Okay, but most of you, but there are others who have never heard of these things. Do you understand that? Do you agree to that?
Yes, sir.
So that's why I have to carry the entire class with me, rather than only if you have done before it. Do you agree with me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So that's why right in the beginning I said, all those who have done this before, please bear with me. And there are PhD students who must have done econometric that I'm going to say later on, Gauss-Markov theorem, wireless, weighted least squares, generalized least squares, dummy variable, and all those stuff. So you have to bear with me because I have to address the entire class. There are people who have never heard of this, so it will be at this level only. Is it okay? Drishan, Kanika, Anas Khan. Who is Anas Khan? Please show me your face here. Are you still there?
Sir,
Hello?
Sir, it's okay. Sir, the speed is okay.
The speed is okay now. I have changed the machine. They've given me a new machine. Is audio okay? My voice is breaking or something?
No, sir, it's
the audio
perfectly
is
fine.
Okay. So the new machine is working. Okay. Mona Lisa Pauli. Who is that? At least
Yes.
all of you should come on the screen with the video so that I can see the face, because it looks like the entire thing will be only on. Get to meet each other. Looks like.
So we can turn on our camera so that you can see us.
No, once in a while, not always, because what I speak is more important than seeing you. But I have the attendance list. I know who all came, when they left. Remember, the attendance list gives me everything.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Oh, bye. Hi. Who is this? Punika Gambhir. Okay.
Yes.
Saurav, I think did I interview you? Drishan, I remember we interviewed you.
Yes, sir, you were there.
Yeah. Okay, Drishan. Okay, Mona Lisa Pauli. Okay, many things. Oh, now people have taken the attendance. 27 good, went up miraculously to 33. No, you lost the attendance. Okay. Okay, I don't know how many I interviewed. Okay, Drishan, I definitely interviewed, I remember. And I don't know if it's ceasing, I don't remember. Okay. Okay, bye for now. We'll meet on Monday. Take care. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Bye, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Yes.